All right, you need to start with a plastic bag and then lay it flat. So I'm smoothing it out and laying it flat. Then you're going to cut off both handles. You can just throw these handles away. Next, you're going to cut off the bottom seam of the bag. And you can throw that away too. Now, if you open your bag up, it should look like a ring or a loop, like this. All right, after you've done that to several plastic bags, now you're ready to attach them. So you're going to start by taking one loop and laying it down so that it's open like this. Lay a second loop on top so that they're overlapping a little bit. Then you're going to reach your hand under the bottom loop, grab the top loop, and pull it through. And then you're going to keep going. Let's try it again. So I lay another plastic bag loop on top, reach under the loop that's on the bottom, grab the loop that's on the top, and pull it through. Lay one on top so they're overlapping. See the space that's created in the center? Reach your hand through that space so it goes under the first loop. You're grabbing the top loop, pulling it through. Then, once you have practiced, you can probably do this pretty quick. You're going to keep attaching until you have 3 long strands. Sometimes this happens where it kind of gets stuck. Be careful not to pull too hard or the bag might rip. All right, now that you know how to attach your plastic bags and know how to make a long strand, you're going to want to make 3 long strands that are the same size or close to the same size. You're also going to want to make sure they're long enough for your jump rope. So I've made my 3 strands. To test if they're long enough, you can do this. So here's one of my strands. I'm going to stand right in the middle of it and see where the edges come up to on my body. For a jump rope, you want it to come up out to your armpit or to your shoulder, somewhere in there. So if I stand on mine is long enough. Mine is 7 bags long. So if you are taller than me, you might need more than 7, and if you're shorter than me, you'll probably need less than 7. I'm 5'3". All right, so I made all 3 of my strands be 7 bags long. Now I'm ready to attach them and then braid them together. So I'm going to start with the end of each of my strands, put them next to each other, and then just kind of twist them together. This is going to be one handle of my jump rope, so I want it to be at least as long as my hand. Once they're twisted, you can tape it. I'm using duct tape. I think that will be the strongest, but if you have another kind of tape, you probably could make that work too. Masking tape, Scotch tape. So now I'm just going to tape it as tightly as I can around this handle. Now that's not probably enough. Let's do a little bit more. I think the more tape I use, the sturdier my handle will be. It should make jump roping a little bit easier. All right, that's good for now. I might decide to add more. So now I have all 3 of my long strands attached at a handle. So the next step is braiding, which I'll show you a little bit closer how to braid. You want your braid to be pretty tight so there's not any gaps, and it'll just make it a little bit stronger, I think, too. For me, when I make braids or any kind of knots, I want to make them really tight. I always make sure this is held on by something. So maybe you have a brother or sister who could hold that for you so it stays still, or you could stick it under something really heavy. Like I think I'm going to stick mine under a chair so that this can't move. That way when I'm pulling my braid tight, it stays in place. Okay, so I placed my handle that I just made under a heavy chair so it's not going to move. You can see I've laid out my 3 very long strands that I'm ready to braid. If you already know how to braid, you can skip this part of the video, but if not, follow along.
So braiding always happens with an odd number of strings, or in this case, bags, because one is always going to be in the middle. That's why you need an odd number. And they like to take turns being in the middle. So you're going to start with one side. I'm going to pick the one on the right. I'm going to move it over so that now it's in the middle. Then the strand on the left is going to move over so it's in the middle. And then you just keep repeating that. Since these strands are so long, it might be a good idea if you kind of bunch the end up like that so you just have one big piece to hold. So the left came to the middle. Now it's time for the right strand to go to the middle. Right comes to the middle. Then I would kind of pull it up here to make sure it's tight. The one on the left comes to the middle. Then the one on the right comes to the middle. So you can already see my braid forming. One on the left comes to the middle. One on the right comes to the middle. And you would do that all the way down. I'm going to stop so I can do it a little bit tighter with both hands, and I'll show you when it's done.
All right, I'm not done braiding yet, but I wanted to show you what I have so far and how I've been doing it with two hands, a little bit easier than one. So here, this is all I have braided so far. So you can see it's a little bit tighter when I'm able to use two hands, but I still have over half left to braid. So when I'm doing this, using two hands, I'll have one hand kind of hold the braid still like this, while my other hand moves the pieces around. So I'm holding the braid, then I'm bringing this one over to the center, holding the braid, bring it over to the center. I have to kind of untangle the bags as I go. So the one on the right comes to the middle, untangle. The one on the left comes to the middle. One on the right, one on the left. And I just keep doing this all the way down. All right, I wanted to show you something. I finished braiding my 3 strands. I went all the way to the end, and I left some unbraided for a handle. But before I tape it off to make it a handle, I thought I better measure and make sure it's long enough for a jump rope for me. So remember how to measure it. I'm stepping on the bottom, and my 2 handles should come up to my armpits or my shoulders. My jump rope got a lot shorter when it was braiding, so now it's not long enough for me. That's okay. You can see my ends that I haven't taped yet. I can just add more plastic bags to make them longer. It's just a reminder of how to add them. I've got the loop attached to my braid. I have my new loop. I'm going to put it underneath and pull it through. So now that one's longer. I'll probably have to add at least 3 more bags to each. I'll let you know when I'm done. I ended up using 29 bags total, and then I taped the other handle, and now I've got a jump rope.